The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Jesus passed through towns and villages, teaching as he went and making his way to Jerusalem. Someone asked him, "Lord, will only a few people be saved?" He answered them, "Strive to enter through the narrow gate. For many, I tell you, will attempt to enter, but will not be strong enough. After the master of the house has arisen and locked the door, then you will stand outside knocking and saying, 'Lord, open the door for us.' He will say to you in reply, 'I do not know where you are from.' And you will say, 'We ate and drank in your company, and you taught in our streets.' Then he will say to you, 'I do not know where you are from. Depart from me, all you evildoers.' And there will be wailing and grinding of teeth when you see Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and all the prophets in the kingdom of God, and you yourselves cast out. And people will come from the east and the west, from the north and the south, and will recline at table in the kingdom of God. For behold, some are last who will be first, and some are first who will be last." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord.
Mighty strong words. Of course, the last few weekends we've been hearing some pretty tough things from Jesus. But I want to start asking, have you ever been among a crowd moving to the entrance of a big stadium, like a Bengals game, or maybe a concert like Paul McCartney or Luke Bryan, one of those ones where they're just packing them in? The way's pretty wide as you're going up. And everybody thinks, "Oh, we're moving. Here we go. I'll get in." But then as you get closer and closer, those lines go down to where it's just one at a time as they go to a turnstile or a metal detector. People are shoving and pushing, trying to get in. And all of a sudden, you keep wondering, am I going to get in time? I thought I left early enough. Did I do everything I could? That broad gate just sort of narrows down and down till you get up to that attendant going, "Hold your own ticket, please." I think that's how Jesus is describing the door to the kingdom of heaven. Begins wide, open to all, but then comes that struggle to get through the narrow gate. One at a time, holding your own ticket. And of course, there's always some people that push to the end, the beginning of the line, or cut in because in their own mind, they're super fans. They've got a right. They've been there. They've got the golden ticket. They need to go to the head of the line before everyone else. They feel entitled. And I think that's a good place today to start. And we talk about the gospel and entitlement. Now, there certainly are things that we're entitled to have. Our Declaration of Independence asserts that all men are entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Children are entitled to basic care, from infants to young adult. In our work, many of us earn benefits such as vacation time, Social Security, a pension. We work for these. We're entitled to it. But sadly, many people act entitled even though they've done nothing to earn special privileges. Some people are just plain rude as they make excessive demands on others. Some people are just very well off and they treat everyone like they're servants. At the other end of the spectrum, some people feel the world owes them a living. Even though they refuse to work, they think they're entitled to handouts. Many a parent has to have a pretty serious discussion with his or her teen as to whether or not the teen's entitled to have a car when they turn 16. Remember saying, "I'd never drive that station wagon or that minivan. I need something sleek, something fast." I know in my case, I said it, But then I was awful happy to drive the family station wagon because otherwise I'd been walking. But I've met people who feel like they can make unlimited demands on others just because they have some kind of perceived authority. They feel entitled. Many marriages never become true permanent unions because one or both of the people feel entitled to take, but they're not responsible to give. There's many people who refuse to serve God, refuse to live godly lives, refuse to worship, and yet at death they presume that they're entitled to full union with God. They demand entrance into heaven, claiming the Lord has lived among them, and He taught in their community. They lived in a Christian community. They were baptized. Their mothers and fathers, generations of their family went to the same church. I'm one of them. I can go in. Jesus is saying, relying on faith and sufferings of our ancestors gains nothing. Doesn't matter what somebody else did, what somebody else believed. It's up to us. Our salvation is a matter of our own personal acceptance of Jesus Christ and His gospel and His grace. Not just lip service. Not, well, I go to church pretty regularly. Maybe I feel bad when I see that homeless person or hear about the number of abortions going on. But then, do I look at that and say, well, there's somebody else responsible. I'm paying somebody to take care of them. My taxes. Somebody else is going to take care of the folks in California that are losing their houses to fires. Somebody's going to take care of the folks in Louisiana who've been flooded out. Somebody will take care of it. When we act entitled, we make presumptions on the mercy of God. And it's because we're not really fully recognizing what it means to be a Christian. To be a Christian means we're willing to endure whatever the secular world throws at us rather than walk away from the Lord. These last couple of weeks, I think it's been very refreshing to me to see the number of athletes at the Olympics willing to stop and offer thanks to God for the talents, for enabling them to be there, in some cases to win. Standing up and sharing their beliefs with the whole world. Now, standing for truth, standing for the Lord's way is difficult. That's the narrow gate. That's the way to the Lord. Sacrificing ourselves for others is difficult. Making time for someone who's hurting, someone who's infirm, or someone who's lonely means maybe denying ourselves some of our breaks, some of our free time. And we all know we have very busy lives. But I've never met anyone who hasn't regretted sacrificing some of themselves for others. So many times, people that give them themselves, if you talk to them, but I got so much more back than I gave. It was just time. But the smiles, the thanks, mean so much more. There are tremendous gifts showered on us every time we embrace discipleship. Every time we reach out, no matter what the cost. Now, the entitled see themselves as the center of the world. They presume that God agrees with them, or at least when they get to that pearly gate, He'll close His eyes. He just sort of wink and say, yeah, you're okay. Come on in. But Christians realize that Jesus Christ is the center of the universe. We don't presume we'll have a heavenly reward. We don't claim we're entitled to eternal glory. We just fix our eyes on Jesus and live His life. We follow Him wherever He leads us. Our salvation is in our hands. But we have to hold our own ticket.